Traumatic brain injury, a topic you all have heard of. But how much about it do you really know? Hi, I'm Alexander, a hockey player and a wannabe biologist. As a hockey player, I've seen a number of young players like myself get concussions, and as someone interested in science, I wanted to know what this really means. For my capstone, I decided to focus on concussions in sports. My main inquiry question is, how would helmets protect athletes from traumatic brain injury? How has the helmet design improved over the years? And how could it be further improved? First, we have to ask ourselves, why is this important? Well, the brain is the most vital organ in our body. Everything we think, do, and feel is controlled by our brain. Damage to the brain can affect our ability to think clearly, to move certain parts of our body, and to live independent lives. Because of this, our body provides some natural protection. We have a thick skull that protects anything from penetrating our brain. And we also have cerebrospinal fluid, which you can't see here, but acts as a cushion for the brain, so it doesn't get knocked around as much. But even with this protection, our brain can still be damaged by traumatic brain injury. So, what is traumatic brain injury? Traumatic brain injury, or commonly known as TBI, is any type of trauma to the brain. It can be as minor as a concussion where the patient just has a bad headache, or as major as massive bleeding in the brain, leading to a coma or death. Most common TBI suffered by athletes while playing sports is a concussion. A concussion is a type of TBI that temporarily alters the way the brain functions and happens when the brain is jostled around and hits up against the skull. Some common symptoms of TBI are headaches, behavioral changes, blurry vision, memory problems, bad hand-eye coordination, anxiety, nausea, and more. We test for concussions using radiology, such as MRI and CT scans. But sometimes concussion doesn't show up on a scan. This is called a subradiographic concussion. A subradiographic concussion is a subradiographic concussion is then diagnosed using a physical and neurological exam, which may, if you're an athlete, may include a baseline test. A baseline test is where you take a test before you get injured as a baseline. Then, when you are injured, you come back and take the test again. If you have a lower score than you did for the first time in your baseline, then you may have a concussion. Studies show that having one concussion makes you more susceptible to future concussions. The theory is that the brain may never fully heal. Because of this, each concussion can get progressively worse. My age group in particular should be concerned about this, because a recent study shows that teens who suffer severe concussion effects are 50% more likely to suffer depression and have higher rates of suicidal thoughts and bullying behavior. Now, how do helmets protect athletes from traumatic brain injury? They do so by providing a cushion that absorbs the impact and lessens the amount of energy transfer to the brain. I brought in my old helmet to show you guys what it looks like, and to give you a better visual, my dad and I cut it open. There is a thick shell to protect from skull fractures. And then on the inside, we have soft foam that acts as the cushion, and next to the foam, there are air pockets. These air pockets give the foam a place to collapse into so they can actually do what they're supposed to. I visited the Virginia Tech Helmet Lab to learn more about helmet safety. There, they provide testing in and off the field. They do so on the field by using sensor helmets. Sensor helmets have sensors in them, so when the player is hit, the sensor sends data to the lab. Then the lab takes the data, and they take the data. They watch the game, and they see what hit the player got to make that amount of impact energy. They test off the field or in the lab using various testing machines. One is magnetized and crashes two helmets together to mimic player collision. Others simulate falling forwards and backwards. These are only a few of their many, many machines. Many of the machines are gravity-based because gravity is more reliable when using a different method such as compressed gas. Once they're done doing all the tests, the data is sent to the lab and then is collected in a graph. The people at the lab only record the height of the impact, for example, 40 Gs. While I was at the lab, I got to build my own helmet. First, I tested the professional helmet as a control. Then I made my own designs and built them. My first helmet design did better than the professional helmet, which was great, but my others did not do so well. This is because they were too tight. I learned that if a helmet is too tight and there's no air pockets for the foam to collapse into, then it has less to minimal effect. Helmets weren't always as advanced as they are now. Early helmets were only used in battle and were made of metal to protect from being penetrated by a weapon such as a sword. Then when they evolved into sports, they were just a leather shell. These only protected from skull fractures. As you can see, helmets have improved greatly over time. Now, not only do they still protect you from skull fractures, they also protect you from different types of TBIs. This is the best rated, most high-tech football helmet used by colleges and professional athletes. It weighs over 5.5 pounds. Though it is very high-tech and is the best choice, its weight and size may present other challenges. There is a new helmet being tested as we speak. This helmet uses fluid instead of foam or gel. They use fluid because the fluid is supposed to mimic the cerebrospinal fluid that surrounds the brain. In my opinion, the future of helmets is going to be some combination of fluid and foam, because this would offer 2 different levels of protection. The industry faces some challenges when it comes to testing for TBIs. Some athletes will game the system, which is when they intentionally do poorly on the baseline test. So when they come back and take the test again and do poorly because they have a concussion, it just looks regular and normal. This is dangerous because the athlete is not being treated for the concussion because no one knows they have it, and they're continuing to play their sport. Professional athletes might game the system because they're worried that when they talk about their paycheck, the amount of games they had to sit out because of a concussion may come into play. Also, some athletes may resist wearing high-tech helmets because most helmets are heavy and they don't want to wear those. I can now answer my main inquiry question. Helmets protect athletes by providing a cushion that absorbs the impact and lessens the amount of energy transferred to the brain. Helmets have improved greatly over time. They used to only protect you from skull fractures, and now not only do they still do that, but they protect you from skull fractures better, and they also protect you from different types of TBIs. And helmets can and are being improved by using fluid, and they are being improved by people like scientists, researchers, and students, like the people of the Virginia Tech Helmet Lab. In conclusion, with all I have learned about concussions, I will change my behavior as an athlete by being more careful of following the safety precautions of ice hockey. I also learned there are very few studies on children and children's helmets, and I feel there should be more conducted on this. The most important thing I learned is that nothing protects you completely. It only lowers your risk of a concussion. More research is needed to protect the most vital organ in our body, the brain. For more information, go to my blog. Thank you.